Welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome to the second part of Cultural Proficiency training. We're so glad that folks could return back to us. My name is Talisha Mervin. I'm one of the folks that are facilitating this morning. During the school year, I work at Kennedy Longfellow Community Schools, and I will let the other folks introduce themselves. I'll let our co-facilitators go.
My name is Min Nguyen. My pronouns are she and they. I am a facilitator and trainer with Agenda for Children, and in my other time, I work at an after-school program. I'm excited for today.
My name is Susan Richards, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the co-director of the Agenda for Children, so welcome.
Awesome.
Okay. So I am just going to recap what we did last session, just for folks who are new. We had a session where we focused mostly on kind of personal narratives, and Susan, Talisha, and myself shared a significant chunk of our story, our life, and our journey to becoming more culturally proficient and, more dedicated to doing anti-racist work. And so if you have a chance to watch our video, please do. We talked about our 5 C's of identity, and we're not going to cover all of that today again, but if you have a chance, please look through the slides that we put together and kind of do some reflecting and thinking about those questions. And the purpose of the first session was more to kind of think about our personal stories, our personal identity, who we are, because that's a very important part of doing this work, is you have to know who you really are before you can kind of understand other people, right? And so I think that was the bulk of what we did. We did ask folks to kind of think about, to observe situations of inequality, or just observe your world a little bit more intentionally around culture. And so that's pretty much it, our recap from last time. Okay. So I'm just going over the ways of being. These are Agenda for Children developed and have been used in lots of training. So if you've been to one of these before, these will be showing up every single time. Talisha likes to call this the oops, ouch moment. If somebody says hurts you, you should be naming that and saying ouch. If you are the one who is saying something, you should be able to recognize and say oops. And again, to make sure that you're attending to the impact. I have one more that is not on here, but I think is very important for our work, is to not expect closure, right? So we're in a cultural proficiency training, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're all going to leave and be super culturally proficient. I know everything about culture, right? And so not to expect the closure. And this is a lifelong learning. We're going to have to continue to learn again and again, just like I think Karen said, that Karen or Nicole said, like the things that we've seen in the past don't always apply anymore. We need to learn and we need to adapt and do better. So yeah, those are the ways of being. I'm going to pass it back over to Susan just to go over the learning goals and our quick agenda.
For those of you who are returning, these will sound familiar. The learning goals are to develop a continuous learning approach that challenges us to take personal responsibility for developing our cultural humility, to acquire awareness of our responsibility to actively advocate for institutional accountability for our cultural humility, to become empowered to challenge oppression, to begin to see the power of denying or affirming people's full humanity, to develop strategies to give and get support in this journey. And I think I said this last time, those are big goals. So they are not necessarily the goals for this time we have together. They're the goals that we as facilitators have set for ourselves and for the folks who join us in these trainings. So they're really a lifetime commitment. The next slide, please. Thanks. So the take-backs, which we hope are more immediate for you, is a self-awareness of when privilege or dominance is present. Acknowledging privilege and dominance is important. And what I found is it's a everyday, every time you're in a space, the awareness of it is a continuous experience to be mindful of your dominance in interpersonal experiences. I have found that really something to focus on. Acknowledging your vulnerability, learning the models for continuous learning. In this case, we are working with the 10 C's of awareness and change. The awareness ones were done last time, and the 5 C's of change will be something we'll focus on this time. Understanding of the importance of listening to, asking clarifying questions, and sharing personal stories and deepening our cultural humility. Understanding the historical and persistent harm done when we deny the impacts of bias and privilege.
About what you remember or what you took away from the first part, things that you've been noticing in general, and if you have any questions about any of the concepts. Okay, so to start off, we're just going to do maybe a quick share back. Is there anything that folks wanted to share with like the whole large group? Something that was really nice that you want other people to hear, or something that you just want to share with everybody?
I wanted to share a strategy for having difficult discussions around topics like race and sexism or homophobia, things like that. Min suggested a strategy about like asking someone what they mean. Like if we're hearing maybe something that is like not necessarily inviting or inclusive, like you can just ask that person what they mean, because sometimes people may have good intentions, but they they may not have they may be ignorant. And so sometimes when you ask, what do you mean? It kind of sounds like you want to learn more about where that person is coming from versus attacking them. So yeah, I just wanted to share that suggestion. So thank you, Min.
Would anybody else like to share? Thank you, Alexa.
Min, could you said it so perfectly that I want everybody to hear it about calling out and calling in.
Oh, sure.
Could you repeat that?
So we were just kind of talking about like when people call out somebody, it's usually with the intention of, oh, I got you, you're in trouble, you're racist, right? Instead of doing that, it makes people feel really, really defensive. And so when we call in, it's more, I care about you and I want you to do better and be better. And so when you have a call-in conversation, it feels very different than having a call-out conversation. And there are lots of people right now who are very, very sensitive. And we want to make sure that if you care about folks, that you call them in and say like, well, have you thought about it this way? Do you want to unpack your assumptions about the things in a different way? How do we help people see things? Because again, sometimes people are they just don't know things, right? Okay, I'm going to move on. Ashley, could you skip to the next slide? So I'm going to go over the 5 C's of change or action. And these are some different strategies, some different ways of thinking about what can you actually do to affect change. So you can read it for yourself, but the first couple are, confidence. Just know that you don't have to be perfect. You can still do something. You can still do anything, right? And that is better than not doing anything. The example I shared in my group was, when young people are making fun of each other, it's better for you to say something, just say, hey, cut it out, than to not say anything at all, so that young people recognize that you're paying attention. And that's one little way of jumping in and doing something, right? This works with other folks out in the world too. Every once in a while I'll go, that's not very nice, and I'll say it out loud to strangers. It doesn't always work, but just saying that, I think, is better than nothing. Again, courage is kind of very linked to this, is courage to step up and do something. And it can look different in different ways. You don't always have to be the person standing up and shouting things. You can just quietly talk to somebody on the side, somebody that you are a little afraid of, right? Commitment is just making sure that you're paying attention at all times, that these things are going to keep coming up and that you are committed to continuing to do this work. We don't get to wake up and say, well, tomorrow I don't want to be a youth worker. I'm just going to forget and just be not nice to people anymore, right? You're going to commit to helping people. Conflict, again, conflict can be really uncomfortable for many, many people. And you have to take the courage to step up and step into the conflict to help and to do something, because if we just let conflict go, it doesn't really help anybody, right? And then the last one is community. So how can you connect with other people? How can you connect with other organizations to continue doing this work? We have 25 fantastic people in here who are committed to doing this work. And you can kind of reach out to other folks. That's the point of, I think, this part too, is we really hope that you can connect with other people that aren't just the facilitators all the time. You have coworkers, you have peers, you have friends and family who can help you do this work. So that's your community. So that being said, does anybody have examples of things that they've done in this past 2 weeks or just in general in your life that are focused around like times that I've done something tangible to affect some sort of change?
I went home to see my mom, and like pretty much right after our first meeting. And, you know, I hope I affected some kind of change, because I talked to her about it, and I was telling her, telling her all about you, Felicia, and just how everything went. And it was just nice to have a conversation with an older generation, like, not that she thinks any specific way, but being able to talk about it openly and share what I learned, I think was a step towards change. And I think doing that with more people is definitely something that I want to do.
I started thinking about ways to be more educated in the topics that I'm passionate about, and especially with just the current climate. I wanted to make sure that the information that I have about making change and fighting institutional oppression came from an educated place and not just what I see like on social media. So I started looking at a list of books that I could read from scholars who've been doing this kind of work for a long time. And so I tried to make a point to maybe create a list of books and try to finish one each month, so that when I do speak about those things, that my opinion is coming from an educated place and not just a place of being really passionate and really emotional, and or just something that I saw that was trending on Instagram.
Personally, I would like a list like that, Alexa, if you'd be willing to share. I would love to be more knowledgeable about this as well.
Of course.
I know something that I've done is I've decided to understand the census a little bit better and to figure out how resources are given out throughout the community. How I think I knew about it, but I didn't dig as deep. So I spoke up to say that we're never done learning, regardless of what position we're in. And so learning about this census has been absolutely amazing. I have gone back to look at the history and to figure out how people of color were counted. But it was interesting to figure that out and to figure out how resources are distributed around the community and how that affects the way that folks are being treated and receive certain things, including education and different things like policies and all of these things. So
I'll just add that my daughter has been a teacher always, but she's been the one that's been deciding what we're watching together at night, and she had me watch a documentary called Disclosure about the trans community, and then we just finished the 2 seasons of Pose, also about the Black and brown transgender community in New York City in the 80s and 90s. And to Alexa's point earlier, it was learning about the trans community, especially the Black and brown community that is the story of Pose, is an incredibly important educational experience that I highly recommend, and it's been incredibly moving. And it's also about the power of family that isn't necessarily your biological family, but the family that takes care of you when your family throws you away. and that family is recreated in ways that are so important and powerful. And it's a beautiful story. We're gonna just take a few minutes now for people who want to bring anything from the small group forward. And remember, bring the story or the lessons, but not the details, like the name of the person or the people that they shared about in the story. So, we have time for, I think, a few, maybe one from each group if folks want to.
I guess we had, right before Corona hit, we had a new staff member start how she would want to call her, but I call her she. And right before school was let out, there was kind of issues arising in the office, not that I was part of, but like the kids were coming into the office for saying things they probably shouldn't have said in the classroom. Parents are getting pulled into the after school space to have meetings with the director or with the community schools, and you could tell there was a climate that was kind of happening. But then Corona happened and we all got sent home. So it was going somewhere. We're probably going to open the doors. Let's probably start talking about the situation and probably, but that never really happened. And when we go back to school, she's a staff member, so it's something that we need to talk about. But that was my story. Even I don't know how to deal with it myself. But I'm in the office space, and the kids come in the office, and I have to make sure that the office is a comfortable environment for everyone, for all the staff members, because it's our office space. So I don't know if that made any sense.
Thank you, Gigi. Well, you making the office a comfortable and welcoming space is an important contribution to the culture of that program. So thank you. Did one of the other groups want to share a story?
One of the strategies that I was hearing from our group was about kind of having to accept the fact that you have to be brave in certain circumstances and learning to be uncomfortable in order to make change. And I really love this term, making a shift in power.
Thank you, Alexa. Anyone else before we make a transition to the next part of our time?
In our small group, we talked about the importance of telling stories from different cultures or different parts of the world. Like when reading storybooks, for example.
Thank you, Sarah. Because we are part of a community, and we do see each other in other environments, we work together, we'll see each other again. I think that the commitment that we want to make to each other, and this is definitely a principle and value of the Agenda for Children, is that we have to help each other as a community of colleagues. And I'm going to pass it to Min.
So this is actually an opportunity for us to just share all the resources we have around just how to create lesson plans, how to be more inclusive. It can be anything that you have felt has been helpful to you. And I have a couple that I'm going to share out, but that I really want to open it up so that everybody can jump in. Ben suggested a really cool resource that might be really helpful for getting to see Black superheroes. And there's a whole website that you can go look at, right? So, okay, so a couple of the ones that I really liked, Kimberly Latrice Jones had a video that I saw on Instagram. It's about 6 minutes long, and it's talking about Black folks and why they have not been able to win in the world. It's really very powerful. I really liked it. She uses the analogy of Monopoly, the game, to talk about the situation that's happening in the world. It's very, very powerful. I think she got a book deal out of it. Please check her out. Adrienne Marie Brown is on all social media. She's a writer. She's really fantastic. She's talking about how we can connect with each other, and it's called, one of her books is called Emergent Strategy, which is making sure that we are working together in community to do things. Our entire world is centered around community and connection. You know, mushrooms are connected to each other, trees are connected to each other, humans are connected to each other. More recently, we've decided that we need to be separate. That's not real. We all are together. She's really fantastic. The next one, The Conscious Lee, he is a facilitator, and he does these types of trainings all the time, and he's really very fantastic. I saw him, it was a very short video clip. They got to tell us about trans identity within the Black community. So Alexa, this speaks to your point that, you know, there is a lot of transphobia and homophobia within communities of marginalized groups, but he really lays it out fantastically, and Jidana, the musician, with the song Classic Man, which is really kind of ironic, retweeted it and talked about how it's really important to kind of think about the intersections of identity. The next two are organizations here in the greater Boston area. So Trans Resistance Mass is an organization that is highlighting the trans experience. And I've shared recently this week is that if we're thinking about the Black Lives Matter movement, we have to think about all Black lives. And that means the trans folks, that means the young people, that means the homeless Black folks, that means the disabled Black folks, right? And we need to include all of their experiences and to make sure that they are also getting protections and rights and all these sorts of things. And then the last one is Monica Cannon Grant is an organizer. She started an organization called Violence in Boston, and she is the one who organized the big 55,000 people protest at the beginning of the George Floyd protests. She's really fantastic. Her Instagrams are amazing. She tells people to like kick rocks without boots on, and she's just very no nonsense. I really, really like her. So please check those folks out if you want. We also have an entire list of articles and resources that we will send out afterwards. But this is also, I'm going to open it up so folks can please jump in, put stuff in the chat. If you want to come off mute, you can also share about things you really liked, videos you've really liked, anything that might be helpful to other folks. Okay?
For me is going on Spotify and listening to podcasts, either lectures by, I guess going old school, Angela Davis, Cornel West, discussions with or about bell hooks have all been really helpful for me during this time. So I didn't know just by plugging in those names in Spotify that you could find people either having discussions or find lectures from these people. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think, like we were talking in our group about telling stories and also creating stories, creating new narratives, I think is a very helpful way, but also, as we had mentioned before, just drawing with the kids and having them see things in a different perspective. I was mentioning just like drawing a black mermaid with one of the kids and how that stayed with her. But just there's so many different ways that we can just help children see the world in just a different light. If I could suggest, there are people that I sometimes do work with who have a program on WGBH called Suitcase Stories. And so you can always tune into that or suggest it to parents, just stories from people from other parts of the globe. GBH is also doing stuff as well right now, and in the process of putting stuff up, I guess via Zoom now. So that's always, public television has always been a great resource for stuff.
Okay, thanks folks. I'm gonna move us on just so we can end on time. But please, we are gonna send out this article. I'll change the permissions on it so that you can add in more things. If you are looking for more resources, reach out to any of us and we can direct you accordingly, okay?
Okay, so we are going to take a few minutes. The way we're going to close today is in one breath, which means you take a full breath, and you are going to say out how you're feeling right now and what is something that you will continue to think about as we leave this space and continuing your learning. So that's happening again in one breath. So anyone that would like to start?
I said I feel supported. I feel supported by this community for like issues that may arise. We can come to each other and speak about it and be honest and hopefully, become a better community as long as we keep speaking to each other and keep an open line of communication with the staff.
Yeah, ditto on the feeling more supported. Definitely.
I'm feeling more connected and just very appreciative of all the resources that have been offered to us and everything that I'm seeing up on the screen.
Definitely also feel more connected and more equipped to help and support in any way I can. And I'm definitely going to take that into the future.
Feeling very inspired, and I'm excited to check out the Black Superheroes website. That seems really cool.
Pretty cool too.
I'm definitely happy that we had another meeting because I feel like even if some of the stuff is kind of almost seemingly getting repeated, it's kind of like still brings us together as a community. So I mean, that's always good, the community aspect of everything.
I'm getting more comfortable, feeling uncomfortable in important conversations like this, and I'm grateful for that.
Last words that you want to leave here? What lasting comments would you like to leave for our participants? Then we'll close out.
I would like to defer my time to others who haven't shared their closing thoughts, if there's others who want to.
I specifically also feel more equipped to handle certain situations from now on that I was unsure about before. I honestly feel a little bit more inspired to learn and take the resources that have been given to me to grow from that and to see more of what's going on.
I just want to jump in real quick to say that y'all are so powerful. You're already doing this work. You care about young people, which is more than most people can say. And so you come to these trainings because you care more. And it really shows. And it's very great to see. And I hope I will have more opportunities to kind of connect with you in the future.
I just also wanted to add thank you guys for putting this on, because I don't think this could have come at a better time. I feel like this is something everybody needs right now. And I appreciate you guys bringing it to us.
Minds and hearts are clear before we leave. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that you got to either start your work or continue your work today. I look forward to seeing you all out in the community doing this work. And if you see me, be sure to stop, say hello, let me know how things are going. I hope that you're able to take the strategies back and apply them into your lives, into the lives of others. Remember that you all were selected or chosen for such a time as this, and the time is now. And so I'm truly grateful that you have come to this workshop and that your minds are open to learning and growing. And I know you're going to be amazing. You're going to be impactful, not only to your coworkers, but to your family members, to your community. So continue to do the work. So go in peace. Ashe.
Thank you so much.